Hi, it's Emily, another chapter, Farm to Fork, Meet Riot, Niti, Bali. And this, I think, is one of the best chapters, chapter 14, Farm to Fork, Meet Riot Standards. And in this, Niti breaks down how she evaluates sources of real food. And it's really good for people like me that just have no clue. I mean, all I've done is just gotten whatever's available in the grocery store. I didn't know that I was even capable of looking for better or looking for more, and I didn't recognize how much the food that I was given that was convenient was causing me problems with my chemical sensitivity. And so now I have this power to find better. I'm so thankful for this. So chapter 14. So what is real food according to you anyway, Niti? Real food is raised while honoring and respecting the universal laws of nature. These days, the institutions are not teaching agricultural methods that honor and respect nature. Current agricultural education is based on convoluted scientific methodology that requires the use of artificial amendments. The amendments I'm referring to in this case specifically are artificial fertilizers, pest resistors, weather resistors, and what other natural obstacle resisting new chemistry project amendment that corporations invent to financially benefit themselves. These artificial practices are unsustainable. Defying the laws of nature in this way is the same as trying to defy gravity. In every single scenario imaginable, institutional scientists fail against the consistent and reliable natural laws. When operating while honoring the laws of nature, in the order of nature, we are successful every time. Institutions would be better off investing their time and energy on innovations that meet the land where it is. The problem is there is no way to create a product to blanket across the diverse landscape nature offers for them to profit from. Human beings have the innate ability to assess the needs of the land by using our five senses. Slow down and take the time to thoroughly observe the current landscape and communicate without any words with the livestock, other creatures of the land. I love this concept because it breaks it down to something so simple. Like, I remember, as a preschool teacher that we would have these different projects with our five senses. And that's how simple it can be. You can break it down to a preschool level, a rudimentary level of assessing the environment, assessing the process. So I love how she breaks it down into the five senses like that. Assess the balance of the land where it is at. Taking soil samples further clarifies the story of the land. Leaning on our instinctual vibrational energy, we have the ability to observe, listen, and really feel what the land is feeling and quiet ourselves to focus on healing husbandry. Anyone who has had their hands in the dirt long enough understands what I mean. If you have a strong relationship with a loved pet, you also know what I mean. If you are a parent who has bonded with your child as an infant, you know what I mean. Nursing mothers caring for their children who do not yet speak, you know what I mean. When we love and care for any form of life, we can feel their joy, pain, needs. We feel the abundance of love those living forms pour over us when we quiet ourselves. When we enslave the land, put life on a clock, or interfere with the ability of the land to breathe air or take in sun and water, we show our arrogance. There is no situation where you can defy the law of nature and succeed in any sustainable level, on any sustainable level. Did you know that nature has so much power and so much grace that mushroom spores have the ability to absorb radiation that is solid or airborne, capture it, and convert it into a mushroom? This is an insane superpower. Mushrooms have the ability to take any toxic waste and literally convert it into organic matter and return it to the earth as life force. When that mushroom dies, it feeds the soil rather than poisoning the soil. In death, that mushroom offers life-giving force. Who said death is bad? Death is a part of nature. It is one of the most powerful life forces of nature. Leaves from trees and shrubbery, sorry, I love Monty Python, offer life force by cleaning the air and offering nutrition during their lifetime. But even in death, leaves fertilize the soil. Isn't that amazing? Aren't you impressed with this incredible superpower? Unfortunately, most people today are moving way too fast to notice these things. Meenakshi's cancer taught me to appreciate things on a cellular level, and I have a perspective now that I would never otherwise have. I am not sure that I could have slowed up long enough to fully see without her cancer diagnosis. The old saying that adversity brings growth is also part of the universal laws. This contrasting experience provided me with clarity that is so powerful that I recreated my world. The laws of gravity and electromagnetism are laws we know and believe to be true, even when we do not always fully understand the details of how they work. Institutions have turned against these universal truths and have been teaching that if there is no empirical evidence produced by a human being, a scientist, that there is no truth in the power of nature. Do you think institutions who are creating artificial fertilizers and pest resisting, weather resisting, or whatever other natural obstacle resisting thing they can think of will fund testing for the sort of agricultural practices I am promoting in this book? I don't. If the solution is in the husbandry and in honoring nature, they cannot make the excessive profits they are currently earning. Institutions focus on efficiencies, profits, and life on a clock based on this system paced for machines, not divine creatures and plant life powered by life-giving force. Institutions have shaped societies to lower their self-worth in an effort to create appreciation for their industrialized, centralized food system that leaves society lacking the life-giving force they actually require to sustain health. Artificially manipulated food-like substances cannot give you what you require to regenerate your cells. I'm gonna say that again. Artificially manipulated food-like substances cannot give you what you require to regenerate your cells. This state of lack results in the infinite debilitating and terminal illnesses you see around you right now. And they're rampant. The people are a direct reflection of the soil beneath their feet. Do you have any soil beneath your feet? Does it have anything living in it? If not, you might want to figure out why. Where does your food come from? Is it coming from soil that has life growing in it? If you cannot confidently answer this question, you might want to ask yourself why you do not believe that you are worthy. Because you are worthy. You are important. You matter. And you are worth food and nourishment that is raised on soil with life-giving force. When I first launched my CSA program here in Raleigh, North Carolina, there was no conversation happening about GMOs. There was no chemical-free organic livestock feed available anywhere in North Carolina, and every meat producer was serving GMO soy and corn to their livestock, even if they were locally being raised on small pasture-based family farms. There was no way for me to purchase meat from anyone here that was near as clean as what we have available right now. This journey has been a very long and hard road. Most farmers around here did not trust me quickly or risk everything to produce the sort of food I wanted, because financially it was near impossible for them to reconcile in the event that I was all talk and no sales. The trust I have developed over all these years was not something you can establish casually. 10 years later, they all know that this is still a risky endeavor, but I have the market to support what I am asking for, and I know how to properly ask for the head of livestock I know I can commit to moving all year long. We have grown slowly, organically, meeting the CSA members where they are at. What are my livestock standards? I'm going to use a school-style report card format to help simplify the standards I believe are considered appropriate for human-grade food. For you farmers and producers out there, this is a simplified version, not a textbook version, of the standards I believe best honor the laws of nature. Livestock report card, grade A. Livestock production requires, so this is under grade A. This is her definition of top of the standard. Livestock production requires all the creatures to live outside on lush, diverse pastures with living soils, blended with wooded areas. These farms would likely have wooded barriers on at least 3 sides with water on the 4th, or woods on all sides with water running somewhere on land. These pastures include wooded patches to offer shaded areas, and they include varieties of grasses, legumes, brassicas, herbs, and broadleaves that create a lush salad bar for the multifaceted livestock ecosystem. There are paddocks divided into rotational spaces, but all the herbivores and poultry species would venture here to various times of the year. There is no grain supplementation for any of the creatures. No pharmaceutical use, vaccines, dewormers, or antibiotics. No artificial amendments for the soil. No tilling of the land. All plants are done with a seed drill. Omnivores are raised in more densely wooded 2 acre runs with the same diverse pastures mixed in with more heavily wooded areas that also include mud baths the hogs naturally create. These wooded areas include fruit and nut trees, a mini orchard, along with garden vegetables that are drilled into the woods and pastures with a seed drill. Compost piles are strategically located on the outskirts of each 2 acre run that are easily accessible by an ATV or a tractor, where oyster shells and fish carcasses are buried along with juiced vegetable pulp and other veggie scraps. And then parentheses, she says, from our direct relationship with juicers and fishmongers in downtown Raleigh. We are fortunate to have access to day trip boats. This is not commercial or farm-raised seafood. It is from anglers we have direct relationships with on our North Carolina shoreline. The vegetables our juicers use are all chemical-free. Compost items listed are only an example of what we have implemented here based on our local relationships. Innovation is required and unique to wherever the land sits. The laying hens would rotate on all the land, cleaning up both pastured and wooded areas over the course of the year. These creatures are all heritage breeds that are capable of procreating because most hybrids are unable to forage properly and do not thrive in this environment. Minerals are supplemented in free feed bins for the animals to access as needed. Raw milk or whey might be supplemented as treats for all the animals. Herbivores are offered hay year-round as added roughage and to maintain proper gut health in the rumen. All creatures are holistically managed with essential oils, diatomaceous earth, I'm not really sure what that means, colloidal silver, clay, apple cider vinegar, organic tobacco, medicinal herbs or weeds, or any other natural remedy if it is required for optimal health. We do not have serious health issues in this atmosphere with proper husbandry. This grade A model can produce nutrient-rich food to scale, but it will be more expensive, unaffordable by most, if you are trying to wholesale and distribute it through the current centralized food system. Participating in the centralized system would also push this farm to adulterate the quality to meet unnatural deadlines for production, which would stress the farm and lower their grade. This grade A model is best distributed directly into the hands of regenerative consumers. It is actually more affordable than grade B products. To enjoy grade A products most affordably, consumers would make an annual commitment to the farm for monthly subscriptions. There is no cost for grain feed in this model. In the first 5 years, when a farm is transitioning into this grade A level, the costs are as high as grade B due to the fencing, seed, and labor investment required to properly develop the pastures and wooded areas. After the 6th year, the land begins to regenerate faster on its own, reducing seed costs. The land will be able to withstand stronger storms, and the ecosystem will be a lot more stable, resulting in less losses caused by pests or weather-related incidents. Overhead costs will go down, and your land and animal management will settle into a state of more ease and flow. Grade A is what small families across the country should be seeking when it comes to the highest quality nutrition for their family. This quality will probably only be available directly from the farmer, but possibly from community cooperatives or community-supported agriculture programs if someone has made the effort to coordinate it. Grade B. And grade B is what Niti graded my local farm. And my local farm got this grading just by what they describe as that they had those standards because that's what they wanted for their family. And it's just a blessing that they're able to do it for their customers. And of course, I'm so grateful because my life depends on it, because I'm so chemically sensitive with the multiple sclerosis and everything else. And so grade B has been a life changer for me, to be able to, maintain functionality and to be able to, still be able to walk and talk. And it's been amazing to have this real food right here. And it's like 18 miles from here in southeast Missouri. I'm so blessed. And that's Sullivan Farms. They're amazing. Okay, so grade B. Livestock includes slow-growing or heritage breeds that are capable of procreating. These farms would likely have wooded barriers on at least 3 sides with water on the 4th, or woods on all sides with water running somewhere on the land. Their main diet would consist of rich pastures with living soils. Supplemental feed for the omnivores can include organic and GMO-free grain rations, but this should not include any soy. Innovative efforts to create compost piles for poultry and hogs to root and feed in might be seen in this model, but might not be a main part of the buffet as you would see it used in the grade A model. You could include raw milk and whey from grass-fed heritage herbivores. Herbivores would be mob grazing or rotational grazing on diverse pastures with living soils, but would receive hay as needed all year. The hay would be organic and GMO free. No pharmaceutical use, vaccines, dewormers, antibiotics, no natural amendments for the soil. These farmers may till their land, but would not use artificial amendments for their soil. All creatures are holistically managed with essential oils. I still don't know how to say that word. Diatomaceous earth. I should look that up. Colloidal silver, clay, apple cider vinegar, organic tobacco, medicinal herbs or weeds, or any other natural remedy that is required for optimal health. We do not have serious health issues in this atmosphere with proper husbandry. This model cannot affordably supply the centralized food system. This system costs more than grades A and grade C because there is one leg in the regenerative style of farming as described in grade A, but there is still grain, so the other leg is immersed in grade C. This sort of farming is not cost effective. This level of food is best when distributed directly into the hands of regenerative consumers, like me. These folks should meet the standards of A or C to make their products more affordable for the consumer. Farmers who find themselves in grade B do not know that grade A is possible when I have asked them why they are not following the grade A practices. If you are interested in transitioning to grade A from any other grade, you do not have to settle for less than grade A all the way. This does not have to be a step-up process. Grade C. Livestock production includes conventional, hybrids, or heritage breeds. These farms would likely have wooded barriers on at least 3 sides with water on the 4th, or woods on all sides with water running somewhere on the land. Herbivores should be on living pastures with supplemental hay only, no grain ever. Omnivores should be on living pastures with supplemental feed ration, but these grains might not be organically certified or verified by a third party, and the feed may include GMO-free soy. The grains might be fermented or buried to properly prepare them for improved digestion of the omnivores. These farms might be larger, so there may be medical intervention using pharmaceuticals by a vet as needed. No guarantee of holistic medical care, so you must ask. These farms may till their land and use artificial amendments for their soil, so you must ask about their practices. There are generally no serious health issues in this atmosphere with proper husbandry. However, antibiotics, dewormers, and vaccines may be used on these farms. Be sure to ask what they use. This model can compete with conventional CAFOs, C-A-F-O, and she'll break that down here in a little bit. CAFOs, in regard to production at scale. So this regenerative model is optimal when you are seeking high foraged foods from farms to provide real meat, eggs, and dairy options in centralized grocery stores and restaurants. Note, if these foods are sold in centralized stores, they have to meet health codes, which includes being washed in chlorinated washes. It is best to buy these products directly from the farm. Restaurants are also required to meet health codes, so become familiar with the codes in your city, county, and state. You could also just speak with the restaurant owners or the chefs directly to know how they handle your farm fresh foods at their location. Grade D. Livestock production includes conventional breeds. The pastures on these farms may be surrounded by chemical farmland or nutritionally depleted or industrial land. This type of farm is working to be regenerative and using chemical-free management on their land, but their neighbors, who they have no control over on adjacent lands, are using chemicals on their land. Herbivores should be on living pastures with supplemental hay that may or may not be GMO, so ask. These herbivores may also be supplemented in the winter or finished on supplemental feed that may or may not include GMO grains, including soy. So be sure to ask what they are fed. This type of farm may be incorporating wooded areas for the hogs, but poultry is on the pastures, working with the herbivores to help gain pasture health. The omnivores are on supplemental feed that may or may not be GMO free or organic and would likely include corn, soy, and other grains. This farm is fighting to regenerate soil despite the poison on the adjacent land surrounding them. This model can compete with conventional CAFOs in regard to production at scale, so this regenerative model is optimal when you are seeking farms to provide real meat options in centralized grocery stores and restaurants. This level of farm production can earn grass-fed labels, even with GMO feed and even with the use of animal feed that is not certified organic. GMO-free, and then she says in parentheses, if their feed is GMO-free certified, and then organic, parentheses, if their feed is organic certified, and other certifications such as animal welfare approved, despite the surrounding landscape that is creating toxic drifts several feet onto their land from all perimeters. These farms are often large-scale farms that may have been industrial CAFOs trying to move to regenerative. These animals are possibly vaccinated and dewormed using pharmaceuticals, and they are likely using medical intervention, including pharmaceutical antibiotics, by a vet as needed though there are generally no serious health issues in this atmosphere with proper husbandry. Animals treated will be isolated in quarantine and then return to the herd flock after the appropriate withdrawal period for the medication given. These farms are still producing animals that can offer us life-giving force despite the poison that surrounds them on all sides. That is how powerful nature's grace is. Chemically sensitive people, however, Emily, will not be able to consume this meat without some side effects. This type of farming is still incredibly vital to the restoration of our soil banks and to our mission to divorce ourselves from the institutionalized and centralized food system that is only creating poison. This is the highest quality of meat you can find in a centralized grocery store at this time. If you find this meat in the store, it will be clearly marked. If not, it does not meet this standard. Grade F. Livestock production includes conventional breeds. The pastures on these farms may be surrounded by chemical farmland or nutritionally depleted or industrial land. This type of farm is working to be regenerative and using chemical-free management on their land, but their neighbors who have no control over on adjacent lands are using chemicals on their land. This livestock production is generally limited to herbivores only that are being raised on degraded grasslands that are rapidly desertifying, becoming like desert. This emergent livestock intervention is implemented in an effort to regenerate life force and to rebuild soil health and restore the grasslands in areas where the aquifers are in danger of collapsing in as little as 5 to 10 years. In America, we are currently importing large volumes of grass-fed beef, which is this level of beef. This livestock farming is very important work that is regenerating soil and drawing down the carbon from the atmosphere, but the nutrient levels will not be nearly as rich as grade D or above. These farms from anywhere outside of the United States can earn the grass-fed, GMO-free, organic, or other certifications despite the surrounding landscape that is creating drift on their land, or despite the lack of life force in their foraging areas. These farms are large. Animals may be vaccinated and dewormed using pharmaceuticals versus holistic medical interventions, and they might use pharmaceutical antibiotics by a vet as needed. These areas are, however, not trying to enforce any medical intervention unnecessarily. It is not financially feasible for them to do so. There are generally no serious health issues in this atmosphere with proper husbandry. People already suffering a diagnosis, like me, with multiple sclerosis, will not be able to consume this meat without some side effects, which is exactly what I experienced, and the whole reason why I had to make this transition to regenerative meat. But the life-giving force in this meat is still superior to any CAFO's fare. These animals are doing very important work, and they are literally reestablishing grasslands and soil banks in areas all over the world. They are saving aquifers for people who otherwise would lose their water sources if their land was to completely desertify. The work these animals are doing around the world is the only reason we can afford to import the meat at such nominal rates. I am not in support of shipping livestock all over the world, but if they are using responsible husbandry and others in your area are not, I would not hesitate to support this regenerative option. You should be able to trace this meat back to an actual human being running the farm. If you are purchasing it in the States, the person you purchase the meat from should be able to connect you to the direct source from which they purchase the meat they sell to you. Okay, so that was A through F. Now, Niti goes into what is all animal products, meat, eggs, dairy, below this grading scale. So all animal products below grade F, she says, are grade poison. So grade poison is the centralized, confined animal feeding operation. That's CAFO. C-A-F-O. CAFO stands for Centralized, Confined Animal Feeding Operation. So I know that's C-C-A-F-O, but centralized confined animal feeding operation, CAFO. Raised meat, eggs, and dairy is not human food grade. It is poison. This includes whatever you find in the grocery stores. Meat and dairy in cans, meat and dairy in frozen meals, meat and dairy at the deli, meat and cheese counters. This includes whatever you find in all restaurants, school, hospital, and university cafeterias, supplied by the national food distribution companies. Unless the store or restaurant can tell you which of the above style farms their meat came from directly, it is poison. You should be able to actually trace the meat, eggs, and dairy back to the farm to confirm the sale. You should also be able to visit the farm by actually going there and putting your eyes on their land. That's like with the 5 senses that she talked about before. You should be able to see how the farm sits on the above grading scale. If you cannot trace it back to the soil, it is poison. Some of you will find this grading regimen and blanket indictment of everything else as poison as too narrow-minded. And this is where Niti offends people. But sometimes the truth can be offensive. Eaters, farmers, and ranchers are all going to receive this report card with totally different perspectives on food and food production in mind. Eaters may push back with difficulties in your area, like simply not having access to any regenerative farmers or any farmers at all. How to identify real food versus poison. Time, distance, cost. Farmers or ranchers may push back with difficulties in your area, like getting fish in Denver. For the farmers and ranchers, I don't have all the answers, and I can't speak to every geographic and climatic context. It is not my intent to customize my experience to every nuanced extreme in this book. The point is that many areas could duplicate what we have done here, including other countries and cities in North Carolina, but they are not. Why? If you are seeing solutions as a producer, the answers are not in this book. If you are seeking solutions as a producer, the answers are not in this book. But we are here to help support you and offer guidance for realistic answers based on where your land sits. We want you to ask us for coaching when you need it. You just need to change your mind first and be prepared to think outside the institutionalized box that has been driving our agriculture towards its demise since at least World War I. Make a list of relationships in your area that you believe may be of benefit with these new innovative solutions. We can help you iron out those possibilities and know if those ideas are worth the investment of your time and energy if you want our mentoring. For the eaters, if you are seeking the food, there is always a way to acquire it. First, you have to change your mind about how you feel about investing more of your time and energy into yourself. The corporatocracy has deemed you all unworthy unless you are serving their agenda, and everyone is trying to prove their worth all day long. Modern day slavery is not bondage in chains. It is bondage in debt with your health, in debt with your time, and in debt with the things that do not bring you joy or serve your family or your own personal passionate desires. It is a psychological operation, and you should know that you are free to change your mind and stop participating in their games anytime you want. You are so free that you can even choose bondage. You are so free that you can even choose bondage. For solutionary assistance, we are here to support you. The purpose of the nonprofit food church I have created is to be able to offer solutions for you. When donations are made to our cause, it is used to solidify and expand our demonstration model and to invest back in the community in the form of coaching and mentoring eaters to find the food and regenerate their lives by adopting this new regenerative lifestyle. For regenerative lifestyle coaching, you can visit my website to learn more. In my experience, most of us are quicker to argue for our limitations and make excuses than we are to meditate, challenge ourselves, look in the mirror, and step up to, why not me? I also want to clarify that the seafood relationship I have established is with the folks who cut day trip fish for my CSA here in Raleigh. We are supporting day trip boats, real anglers, and not commercial, imported, or farm-raised seafood on giant ships. To learn more about our seafood standards, please go to brunswickcatch.com to get an idea of who we are supporting. John Haig, owner of Haig & Sons Seafood. That's haigandsonseafood.com. Taught me everything I know about seafood, and he heads up the board of the Brunswick Catch. He cut all my seafood for the CSA for years. Now I work with Lynn Peterson and Ryan Speckman, owners of Locals Seafood here in Raleigh, North Carolina. Localsseafood.com, who got started after I had already been in business for a while. They allow me to support sustainable anglers along the entire coast of North Carolina. Believe me when I tell you that we are not consuming or offering toxic fish from commercial global fisheries to our community or to our precious livestock or soil. The future of meat, according to the institutions, is that they are no longer in the business of selling you meat. The institutions have now declared that they are in the business of selling you protein. This is a new code word for poison. This protein they refer to can be anything they create in a chemistry lab, which will be and has already been promoted as plant-based protein. When you speak to local chefs or restaurant owners, they are already using this terminology, which was instilled by the institutions. Most of you are already used to hearing them ask you which protein you would like, rather than stating the fact that you want beef, pork, lamb, goat, chicken, turkey, duck, fish, shrimp, scallops, oysters, bison, goose, venison, dove, bear, veal, alligator, shark, or whatever species you actually expect to consume. It is just another way to psychologically disconnect you from a real animal that you expect to eat. They want you to normalize the fact that you have no idea what you are consuming, so you should not even ask. And here's a bunch of questions. Are you aware that you cannot grow plants without soil? Are you aware that we are losing our soil around the globe? Did you know that the soil not only stores carbon, life-giving force, we need in the ground, but also protects our groundwater and aquifers? Did you know that without livestock or prey and predator species, you cannot even have soil? Logic and reason deduce that you need to eat more livestock to save the soil. Institutions that no longer operate as human beings insist that you should now pay taxes on the poison industrialized meat that they have been selling you for years. They want you to buy the chemistry project meat they are creating in labs that they will make more affordable for you by subsidizing its production using your tax dollars. Nowhere in their scientific conclusions do they include the creation of regeneration of the soil. This means that the institutional solution will leave you without livestock, soil, water, and plant matter. That would mean that you would also soon be gone from the equation. Ouch. You need to eat more regenerative livestock that meets grades A through F from the report card so that you can sustain your health and regenerate the soil. The more meat that you eat that meets any of the levels on the report card above poison, the higher up the grading scale, the food system will naturally rise. It is law. Now, that would be according to the law of supply and demand, not the law of nature. Either way, it is a solutionary deduction, not a wicked, institutionalized, sized blunder. And that is the end of chapter 14 from Farm to Fork Meet Riot by Niti, Bali. And there's your grade report. Thanks for listening.